Hello, everybody. This is Curt Mercadante, your host of the Freedom Club podcast. And if this is your first time listening or your 151st time listening, I am so grateful that you are here. And this podcast, of course, is free. But I am going to ask you to give a little payment if you like what you hear today, if you like what you've heard from past podcasts of mine you've listened to. And that is, please tell a friend about us. If you see our post shared on one of my social media networks, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever, please share it to your network. And if you are so inclined, wherever you're listening to this podcast, I would be so grateful if you paid that a visit and left us a positive rating and review. Those are like currency to us, and they help us expand the reach of our podcast, the reach of our message of freedom and fulfillment around the globe. And if you have a friend, a family member, a colleague who you think would benefit from our message of freedom and fulfillment, please spread the word. But I am very thankful, very grateful that you are here. Now, I want to make a pitch for an event that is going to knock your socks off. November 8th, it's my Freedom Club Festival. It will be the culmination of the Freedom Club local events that I'm having throughout the country. We've already had people purchase tickets from Korea, from Canada. People are coming in from France, from Dubai. We have speakers coming in from around the globe. They're going to be addressing topics, personal development, personal branding, entrepreneurship, health, relationships, and more. Please go to curtmercadante.com/blog. Find the blog post about our pre-sale tickets. Depending on when you're listening to this podcast, our pre-sale tickets might be gone and the price might have gone up. So if you're listening to this today, go there and get your ticket. They're only $44. And they're at that special rate until April 15th or until we're sold out. We released 50 pre-sale tickets. We have 19 left as of the recording of this podcast. So we are going to sell out of those pre-sale tickets. We have 300 total seats available. We're going to sell all of those out. And the Freedom Club Festival, I already mentioned the great speakers that we have, but we're also going to have amazing music. We're going to have awesome local food. It's here in historic Charleston, South Carolina. If you're up north, I guarantee our weather is going to be better in November. And if it's not better, at least we got palm trees. We got the water. We got beaches that you can walk on, even if it's a little chilly. So I invite you to come down to the Freedom Club Festival. You will not be disappointed. In today's podcast, I taped in a live stream in the Freedom Club community, my private Facebook group, in which we do live streams all the time, not just live streams of myself. We have guest live streams from our members. And most of the interviews that you listen to here on the podcast are live streamed there as well. So if you are not a member, head over there now, the Freedom Club community. It's on Facebook. Search for it. You'll see my ugly mug. Click on it. Apply to join. But you can participate as we do the interviews and as I record some of the podcasts like I did today. So on a previous podcast, I talked about the importance of learning the difference between toughness and stupidity, between embracing the suck and doing permanent damage. Today, I talk a little bit about the other side of the coin, the importance of toughness. The name of this podcast is When Grinding is Good. And you may wonder, what the hell does that have to do with toughness? I want you to listen to the full podcast to find out. Again, this is the Freedom Club Podcast. I am your host, Curt Mercadante. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoy today's podcast. And if you do, please tell a friend about us. Give us a positive rating and review. Share us on your social network. Without further ado, here is today's episode, When Grinding is Good.
Welcome to the Freedom Club Podcast, where we strive to pull you out of your life of quiet desperation, out of your comfort zone of misery, and propel you into a life of freedom and fulfillment. And now, here's your host for this journey, international speaker and coach, and serial entrepreneur, Curt Mercadante.
So I recently did a live stream and a podcast, and I talked about how some people need to learn the difference between toughness and stupidity. And in the name of toughness, they stay in a toxic lifestyle, a toxic job, a toxic workplace, a toxic whatever. They think it's being tough. I know a lot of men who think that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to put their head down and eat shit and prove how tough they are, even if they're doing permanent damage. Even if during that period of their lives, they're ignoring their relationships, they're ignoring their self-care. That's not toughness, that's stupidity. And in that podcast, I talked about, going to the gym. And I've been known to push through pain that in my head, I know is about to do permanent damage, is about to tear a muscle, is about to do something to the disc in my back. But I push through it because I want to be tough. And then I end up doing damage. Now I know it's permanent damage, but I do damage and then I'm out for several weeks, right? That's not toughness. That's stupidity. Toughness is pushing through that normal pain. When you get tired, giving it a little extra effort. When you're getting near that finish line, not giving up. One of my outcomes for the year is to do a 15-minute plank non-stop. And I'm up to about 7 minutes. And that final minute, that's when it's toughness. That's pushing it out. If you're doing a squat and you feel that twinge and a muscle in your glute or your quad is about to tear and you push through anyways because you want to be so tough and then you tear that and then you can't do squats, you can't work out for weeks. That's stupidity. That's not toughness. So I know a lot of people talk about embrace the suck. You're in a horrible job, but that's what you're supposed to do. That's what life is about. It's about living in that sucky job and hoping you can live till 65 and be healthy enough to then enjoy life. That's stupidity, folks. That's not toughness, right? There's no guarantee that any of us aren't going to walk out in the morning and get hit by a bus. And I don't say that to be a downer. I say it because living with that knowledge is actually very empowering, right? Carpe diem. And all that shit, right? Live for the day, right? Don't spend your life waiting for something. Spend your life living. So some people need to learn the difference between embracing the suck. Some people need to learn the difference between toughness and stupidity. But today I want to talk about the other side of the coin. So I'm a huge, and I see Scott Westwater is here, and I don't know if we've talked about this, Scott. And by the way, if you're listening to this on the podcast only, the reason I'm referring to people is because I'm live streaming this, as I often do in the Freedom Club community. And if you're not a member of the Freedom Club community, what the hell is wrong with you? Go to Facebook now, search Freedom Club community and join. So Scott Westwater here is watching this live stream. He's a Chicagoan. I used to be a Chicagoan. I don't know if Scott, if we've discussed this tomorrow, if you're a Cubs fan or White Sox fan, but I am a diehard White Sox fan. Went to the World Series in 2005, Game 1. I was living in DC at the time, took out the credit card, bought an outrageously priced ticket, flew in, just a great experience. But what I loved most about that team wasn't just that they went wire to wire in first place, that they only lost one game in the entire playoffs. What I love most about that team is they weren't full of like crazy home run hitters, right? They didn't have anyone with a really high batting average. No one hit over 300 that year. I think Scott Podsednik was around 289, something like that. What I loved about that team was they called it grinder ball, right? If it was tied 0-0 in the ninth inning, they would find a way to get that run in. Even if it meant getting hit by a pitch, even if it meant AJ Przinsky starting a bench-clearing brawl, throwing everyone off kilter, hitting another pitcher, and getting that run. They called it grinder ball because they did, if they needed another run, they figured out a way to get that run. Now, to me, folks, that's toughness. And a lot of people I know who start businesses, they get into it, right? All of us know people on LinkedIn, on Facebook, we watch it and they're so excited and they're starting their own business and they jump into it and it doesn't go exactly as they thought it was going to go and they give up. Oh, I tried and I tried and I tried. When you got to get that extra run, you know what true toughness is? And I talked about toughness at the start of this live stream, the start of this podcast. True toughness is saying, all right, that didn't work. I'm going to play some grinder ball and I'm going to do what is necessary to get that next run. Not doing permanent damage to yourself, not ignoring your relationships, your self-care, not staying in a toxic lifestyle for years, right? I'll give you an example. So last year, I did a lot of one-on-one coaching. I don't do one-on-one coaching anymore, but I was doing a lot of one-on-one coaching and I hit a slump and nothing was going. There was like a month or so where I just hit a slump with getting new clients. Now, I know a lot of coaches do that and they sit there and they curse the heavens and the world doesn't like me. LinkedIn reach is down. My Facebook posts aren't reaching anyone and it's not working, right? What I did was I started to play grinder ball. I created out of thin air a bunch of mini courses. I had Your Purpose is Your Brand. I had Create More Time. I created these mini courses. I started playing grinder ball. I started hitting singles. I started, walking, getting on base. You know what? I got 30 different people in those mini courses. I started playing grinder ball. I did what was necessary to get in that next run. Some of those people have turned into long-term clients, and I went on to have a phenomenal year. There's a lot of talk for those of us who do a lot of videos, a lot of content on LinkedIn. There's a lot of hand-wringing that LinkedIn's glitchy, and oh my gosh, my reach is down. Personally, last year I went through a stretch where I was getting like 300 or 400,000 views per video. Right now, my reach is the worst it's been in 2 years. Sometimes I only get 200 or 300 views per video. You know what? I don't sit back like some people and cry and moan and, oh my gosh, I'm not getting those views. What am I going to do? My business is built on this. I started playing some grinder ball. I started, instead of posting once or twice a day, I started posting 7, 8, sometimes 9 times a day. Just by brute force, I'm making it happen. And you know what? I'm filling up webinars. I'm getting people into my Freedom Club Accelerator. This group, the Freedom Club community, is about to grow over 800 people. So true toughness isn't sticking it out in a toxic atmosphere and doing permanent damage to your mental, physical health, to your lifestyle, to your relationships, to whatever it is. True toughness is realizing the difference between inflicting real damage on yourself or putting your head down and doing what's necessary to get it done. If you're in a job you love, don't give up. Push forward, get creative. If you don't know how to get it done, I guarantee there's someone who knows how to get it done. I see Ali Mirza just joined the live stream on Freedom Club Community. You don't know how to do sales? Give Ali a call. He's a sales guru, right? Get creative, folks. Last year on LinkedIn, someone told me I talked about starting a new business and I talked about fear. And that gets in the way of a lot of people who want to start a new business. And someone commented and said, "You're wrong, Curt. The biggest impediment to people who want to start a new business is access to capital." There was a commenter who left a similar comment this week. You know what? I've coached people around the globe. I started 3 profitable businesses. And here's the deal. Yeah, in some cases, you may need money to start a business. In many, many cases, you don't. What I have determined is, and what I have found is, the biggest impediment to people starting their own business is balls. You either have balls or you don't, right? Maybe you need some more money, but do you have the balls to scrimp and save and get creative and find a way, maybe not spend money on all that bullshit that's not giving you fulfillment, but is trapping you in a lifestyle you can't afford, maybe saving a little money, getting creative to get the money you need to start your business? Do you have the balls to, when you come home after a job you hate, maybe you work 12, 13, 14 hours, whatever it is, you have the balls to say, instead of sitting on the couch today, popping open a beer and watching the ball game, I'm going to spend 2 hours working on my dream, on my side hustle, on the business that I want to do? Or are you going to sit on that proverbial couch, wring your hands and say, oh no, the biggest impediment is access to capital? Because you're wrong. Julian Smith's here and he knows all about balls, right? It's the name of his podcast, the Balls in Your Face podcast, Balls in Your Face Marketing. But it's true. And I'm sorry, if you're offended by me saying balls, then tune out, because you're not going to like the rest of my podcasts. But some people have balls and some don't. And I'm not talking about women, men, whatever. I'm talking about nerve. I'm talking about gumption. I'm talking about that knowledge. Like I said, I talked about the 2005 White Sox playing grinder ball. When you need that extra run, doing what it takes to get there. And again, that doesn't mean doing what it takes and staying in a toxic relationship, a toxic job, a toxic lifestyle, a toxic career, a toxic workplace for 25 years in the hopes that you're still alive when you're 65 and in the meantime doing permanent damage. It's knowing the difference between toughness and stupidity. It's knowing the difference between embracing the suck and doing permanent damage. It's knowing how to play grinder ball, to get that run in to win the game, doing whatever it takes. That may take creativity and it may take balls. So thank you. For those of you listening to the Freedom Club podcast, those of you watching the live stream, I am Curt Mercadante. Have a week, a day, a year, a life filled with freedom and abundance. Thank you.